What is up, guys? I've been running a lot in the New Balance Balos recently. I did that 20-mile double run day test video, and I don't know if you can hear in the background, but we have the ice cream truck putting in absolute work over there. Can you see him? I don't know, but man, that thing is going off. Trying to get through it anyway. Yeah, I've been running a ton of the Balos. One of the main questions I've been getting is, how does this guy compare to the 1080? So both of these, look, boom, Fresh Foam X, Fresh Foam X. Both of these are Fresh Foam shoes in the New Balance lineup. Fresh Foam means comfort, but the Balos is the newest one. It's introducing a little bit of a revised, I can't even hear myself think. Should we just pop down there and get some? So the Balos is introducing the race foam into the midsole here. It's a brand new compound. The 1080 is tried and true. Very soft, comfortable shoe. I put 300 miles on this guy. One of my all-time favorites for soft comfort. So I wanted to do a head-to-head today, comparing the two, what the key differences are other than the price point. So this is $165, this is $200, and who should get each based on your training. So with that, guys, let us get into it. So the Balos is the newest addition to the Fresh Foam family by New Balance. Key difference here is they're working in the race foam, so PIBA into the midsole. It gives it a nice balance. It gives it a lot of energy return and makes it a really versatile shoe for faster running as well as slower running. So with the 1080 here, which actually has a very similar stack height to the Balos, let's compare for a second. Balos might be a few millimeters taller, but with the 1080, I felt that the key issues here were stability. So for longer runs, I felt that the heel maybe wasn't as stable as I'd liked. They've corrected that in the Balos by widening out the base. And the other thing is, after I got up to 90 minutes, 2 hours in the 1080, it just did not have the pop. It did not have a little bit of that bite that I wanted. And with a super soft shoe, it can just get mushy. Like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, it can just get mushy after some time if it doesn't have a compound in here or a plate or something else to give you something back. So with the Balos, they fixed the two major complaints I had with the 1080. So it still is very soft, but because you have the race foam mixed in here, it gives you a lot more bounce. There's a bigger rocker on here, so that was another thing with the 1080. There's not that much of a rocker, so look at how much roll we get off of the Balos. With the 1080, it's a much more gentle slope up in the front. It's not as aggressive as the Balos, and then with the Balos, of course, they've widened out the base to give it some additional stability. Now, what they've kept in the Balos versus the 1080 is a super soft midsole foam. So this is still one of the softest shoes I've run in the Balos. The 1080 is probably the softest shoe I've ever run in, and it might even be too hard to tell. I'll get these on foot in a second here, but man, these are two soft shoes. So if you like soft, either of these are going to be a good choice. Now, upper differences, the 1080 does have a little bit of a warmer, less performance fitting upper. It's not as breathable. With the Balos here, this is a super lightweight and breathable upper. You can see through this material here right now, and it just has a little bit more of that. Let's do a little sound test. Hold on. A little Balos sound check. Boom, you can hear that scratch. Then a little 1080 sound check. Softer, definitely softer. So a little bit more comfort in the 1080 upper, a little bit more of that performance race day feel in the Balos upper. They both do have padding around the heel, and they both do have a decent fit. I do have to say, though, with the 1080, I went up half a size. So in the 1080, I went up to an 11 versus the Balos. I got this in my standard size, 10.5, and it fits great. New Balance did send me this. I don't think it's even out yet for sale until August 14th. So with that quick overview, guys, let us get these both on foot. I want to do a fit and feel test, and then we can do a little bit of a quick jog to expose the key differences. All right, guys, so lacing up the 1080 here, and I do have the Craft Pacer on because I was highlighting this in one of the videos that I just filmed, and I'm pre-recording a few right now, doing some pre-planning. That is not one of my core strengths. Planning ahead, definitely not one of my core strengths. And also, apparently flipping the mic in the right direction is not one of my core strengths either. But lacing up the 1080 here, and man, every time I lace this up, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I've done that day, no matter if it's morning or night, it's that feeling of, it's the feeling that can only truly be described through onomatopoeia. There's no words, just sounds. Ah. Ah. By the way, the first 8 minutes of filming this was a special kind of torture. And I can still hear the ice cream truck going. So let me know how I did. If you're still here with us through 8 minutes of ice cream truck, I think hopefully the mic didn't pick that up. But man, let me know how I did personally. That was a new challenge for me. I've done shoe tubing without coffee. I've done shoe tubing on vacation in the Poconos. And now we just did shoe tubing for nearly 10 minutes with the ice cream truck sound going, bro. This is next level. So slipping my foot into this, the Balos definitely has a more performance fit. It is not, and when I say that, I mean speed. It is not a speed shoe, but just from what they've done with the tongue here, so let me go grab the other two, hold on. As I lace the Balos up, the upper just, I feel a little bit more strapped in. So look at this tongue here. It's this really cool strapped down material where you almost have a sock fit inside of the upper. So that's the piece that's really locking your foot down in place. And I think that's necessary in this shoe given how wild this foam can be. And then again, you have that more almost race material on the front of the upper, which is nice and breathable for the summer, versus on the 1080, very soft. So that's the initial difference I'm getting with the uppers here. They fit pretty similarly. I might have a little bit more room in the toe box of the Balos, just width-wise, but yeah, they fit very similarly. Midfoot width on both of them is nice. Heel is fine, and the toe box isn't too tight. And yeah, you can see I have an 11 here in the 1080. I probably could have gone for a 10.5. I definitely could have. I have a lot of room up here. I have a lot of room. The only reason I went for the 10.5, or the only reason I went for the 11 is because I just come off of a half marathon PR when I bought these, and I wanted something super comfortable, so I went up half a size. But a little walk test. So keep in mind the 1080 is 300 miles, or has 300 miles of wear, whereas the Balos is nearly brand new, only 40 miles. But walking along here, the Balos has way more of a rocker. It also has a little bit more pop and bounce, even at just this walking pace. And the 1080 has a lot more squish. And that was the key issue with the 1080. A lot of people found that it just wasn't bouncy enough. It wasn't fast enough. It wasn't aggressive enough. And the Balos corrects that both with the rocker and the race foam. So if you're choosing one of these exclusively for walking and excluding the looks, you don't really care about how they look, I would definitely go for the 1080. It has all the comfort you need. And for me, it doesn't make sense to pay $35 extra for just a race foam, because that's not really going to help you that much for walking. Maybe if you're power walking, it would help you. But if you want something just for around town, I would go 1080. Now, the real questions come in for running and different use cases for running. So I think recovery runs, again, if you're just going for recovery runs, easy mileage, that's probably 1080. Now, if we're thinking about daily training, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. So let's pop down to the street, do a little bit of a jog test, and then I can give you my thoughts on the differences of these for everyday miles and who should pick them. All right, guys, quick jog test between the New Balance 1080 V13 soft buttery goodness and the New Balance Fresh Foam X Balos V1. A little garlic butter. Let's go. So man, even just on this jog test here, the differences between these two become so clear. So the 1080 is a very soft, and the forefoot has absolutely no return, no bounce whatsoever, especially compared to the Balos V1. Now, I wasn't one of those people who had a huge issue with the 1080 and found it dead and found it lifeless, and that was the key complaint of this shoe. It didn't give you anything back, and as you were running fast or running slow or whatever it was, it felt like it was sucking the life out of you. That's what our guy Andrew said about this shoe. But this one here, that's the opposite of what I'm getting here. Very bouncy, very lively. The race foam in here works wonders, but it still has that super soft 1080 feel. So deciding between these two, if you want a pure recovery shoe, you're not worried about pace whatsoever, and you don't want to pay that top of the market premium $200, I would go for the 1080. It's not a 99 to 95% solution. It's not. It's a very different shoe than the Balos, especially after running these left and right foot like we've done here. But for recovery mileage, for easy mileage, one of the best shoes still. Very comfortable. I got decent durability. At 300 miles, I could probably still get another 100 miles out of this guy. And I've had some overpronators tell me this shoe actually works for them, especially for shorter distances. Now, for me, as I said, once we get past 90 minutes, which most people aren't doing on a regular basis, this wouldn't be my choice. But for anything other than that, I mean, it looks good, it feels good. 1080 is going to be a viable shoe. Now, where this guy comes into play, if you want something for faster running, if you want something that's going to be a little bit more exciting, I would go for the Balos. And also, if you do want that recovery shoe, but with the ability to do strides, with the ability to maybe even be a race shoe, if you want one shoe to do it all, if you're running a lot during the week and you want one shoe to handle most of that mileage, Balos is a great choice. It's been able to do every run I've thrown at it so far. We're now sitting at about, I think, 42 miles on this guy. So halfway through to that 100, nearly halfway through to that 100 mile mark. Maybe I'll bang out another 6 right now. We still got some light. That'd be a good idea, huh? Get on a little 6 afternoon run in here, or evening run, and it's 8:04 p.m. It's 8:04 p.m. We're just grinding out some pre-recorded videos. I'm hot. And the reason you might be wondering why I'm wearing the long sleeves and the long pants, but the mosquitoes were getting to me. And now the heat and humidity are getting to me. We're gonna power through. Ooh, Balos. Yeah, if you want any capability of faster running, this is gonna be a great pick. It's almost like a Super Blast, but just way more comfortable. So this still does have that fresh foam feeling to it that you get out of the 1080, but just elevates it. So this shoe is exactly what you'd expect. When I did my first run, when I did the double day test, that was kind of my takeaway. That's been my takeaway so far with the shoe. It's exactly what you'd expect. If you tried the 1080 and you thought, hey, what would it be like if they added PIBA, they added race foam to the 1080? That's exactly what you're getting here. Now, one thing I should note is that, like the Super Blast, you have the exposed foam on the bottom here, so, or not the exposed foam on the Super Blast, but you have an EVA layer on the bottom here. That is different than the 1080. So I am not sure how durability is going to be on the Balos, which is a little bit of a question mark for a $200 shoe. But as I mentioned, we're at about 40 something miles. Let's just take a look at the durability here. A little bit of exposed foam rubbing on the back. You can see we had that similar issue though in the 1080, and we still got this one to 300, and boy, did I chew up that outsole. And then, yeah, some of this exposed ground contact EVA is getting chewed up a little bit as well. So that is the question mark here, but very fun, very comfortable shoe. Probably the most comfortable out of that $200 batch of shoes, and way bouncier than anything else in the Fresh Foam lineup. So yeah, get this if you want something for faster runs, for long runs, that can also handle recovery. That's more of a versatile do-it-all. That would be the Balos. Get the 1080 if you just want a shoe for shorter everyday miles, for definitely not for long runs, but for walks, and a comfortable shoe that you don't really need to be fast. That would be the 1080. I also do think the Balos is going to be a little bit better for bigger runners, given how bouncy this foam is, given how supportive it's felt for me for the forefoot. I have not done the long run test in it, but I did do that 20-mile double with the 12-mile recovery run, and that took 1 hour and 37 minutes. So nearly as long as most people's long runs are probably going to be, nearly up to that 2-hour mark, and it did great. So again, another great non-plated long run shoe. This shoe would be a good replacement for your Saucony Triumph 20 or 21 if you're still looking for that shoe. So 2 great shoes in the New Balance lineup. One thing I will end with is I actually heard somebody say that they talked to a New Balance rep and they said that the Balos, this is a special edition shoe to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the Fresh Foam line. I actually remember New Balance telling me this at the running event. And so they're not sure if this shoe is gonna get a V2. They're not sure where it's gonna live in the New Balance lineup. So it's a special edition shoe that's almost meant to be an innovation product or a prototype kind of a product that could suggest the potential future direction for shoes like the 1080. So if it sells well, they might do more of it. They also might integrate some elements of it into the 1080 V15. So the V14, I believe, is already out. So we might see this shoe, instead of a V2, we might see the 1080 V15, maybe priced at $170, $175 with this same Balos foam, which I think would be pretty cool. I do like this as a future direction for the 1080 because at $165 doesn't quite have the same versatility as a lot of the other shoes at the price point. Maybe the Nimbus is the same, but it would be nice for the 1080 itself to have a little bit more pep for those faster miles. But yeah, that's the Balos, that's the 1080, that's Fresh Foam, 2 comfortable shoes, you can't go wrong. I'm loving this one so far. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll get to the 100-mile review soon. And thanks for watching the pre-recorded video. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I love you guys. Hey, shout out to the Charlotte turkey trot, bro. We gotta start turkey trot training. Start ripping off some stroller miles to prepare. It's getting serious. One more thing, as I'm walking up here to the house, the Balos platform feels so much wider, so much wider. It's just an easy shoe to run in. That's what I said yesterday in my video that I did on it. It is so easy to run in. So if you want something that's going to completely take the burden off the legs, and I do think it's a viable shoe for recovery if you want to pay $200 just for a recovery shoe, but man, so easy to run in with the wider platform, with the Piba, it's just, and the rocker, man, it's a great shoe to have on foot. I might have to use this as my travel shoe. Stunting on them in the Balos, bro. Unreleased swag.